Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome everyone into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology turned podcast. Everyone, welcome into the program. I hope that you're doing well and you are ready for another episode of Computer America, because today we're going to have a really fun one where we have Nathan Evans. Nathan Evans is the managing editor over at Popzara.com. And if you haven't heard about them, be they magazine, be they online publication, be they whatever they may be, they're a little bit of everything, and it's a very fun publication that you get everything from product reviews like you would find at Computer America, but you would also find, book reviews, movie reviews, you'll find podcasts, you'll find so much more that Nathan and his team of writers really put together a wonderful, dare I say, mishmash of, just kind of pop culture and tech that's always a lot of fun, always very different. You never know what you're going to find when you see it. So with that being said, we're going to have Nathan on and we're going to, talk about headlines, current news, what's been happening. It's been a little bit since we had him on, and, it's going to be a little bit of catching up. And overall, it's just going to be a wonderful way to head into the weekend as just a way to, unwind, relax, and get ready for the most stressful part of everyone's week, being the weekend. So with that being said, let's go ahead and bring him on. Once again, managing editor of Popzara.com. Nathan, how you been?
Hey, Ben, welcome back. And, as a great space delivery boy once said, I'll be whatever I want to do. So
Exactly.
Welcome back.
Yeah.
We're back. We're back, baby.
I'm happy to have you back, and it's been a little while, so for anyone out there who has not heard of Popzara, tell us what you and your writers tried to do or do so well over at Popzara.
What do we try to do, huh? Well, that's different than what we do. No, it's like you said, I think it was Craig, the great Craig Crossman, who once said we were a magazine. And frankly, I don't disagree. It's a digital magazine. It's a little Popzara. It's a little Bizarra pop culture. We do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Focus on, of course, like you said, pop culture, a little bit of movies, a little bit of games, a little bit of books, a little bit of this. No politics. Increasingly, we need more of that. Mm-hmm. And it's fun. And we got a little dinosaur mascot. Take that, CNN. You just have puppets. We got mascots.
No, they don't have dinosaur mascots. They are simply like most television, and I found a couple articles about that. They are going the way of the dinosaur, but they do not have dinosaur. Exactly. I think it was DirecTV. One of the headlines that we did not pick up on that they were talking about was now DirecTV is allowing not strictly a la carte. You can't pick exactly which channels you want, but you can essentially say, I'm in it for the movies. I'm in it for the live TV. I'm in it for not live TV, the reality TV. I'm in it for the news, and you can kind of pick 7 or 8 different categories, and they'll sell you a cable plan based on those. So yeah, it's like a last-ditch effort before they kind of say, this business model is not really that profitable. So I don't know.
Someone turn off the lights before you leave.
Yeah.
But no, it's just, you ever notice with satellite systems and cable packages, they're always like, you have a contract, right? If you have a satellite service, you have a contract, but they don't seem to honor the contract very much. Like they're always like doing blackouts and doing things.
Yeah,
if you stopped paying, you wouldn't get service, but they're allowed to like fudge the contract whenever it deems, whenever they want to, play hardball with their publisher. Yeah. So
my biggest gripe with satellite is after you're done using them, I had to pull the satellite off the roof when we canceled them a couple of years ago, and I was like, what do we do with this? And they're like, oh, that's yours. You do whatever you want. And I'm like, what else can you do with it other than turn it into a sled? Like, there's nothing you can do.
You can recycle it, but I'll say this. You happen to live in a city that is famous for having like secondhand used electronics. So I'm sure you've got some scrapyard going on there.
Oh, but
Look, I used to do a long time ago. I used to repair like old houses and everything, like in junk and do management. And I can't tell you how many old satellite dishes we had to like remove from properties because they would give those things away like candy,
Yeah.
like AOL discs.
Hmm.
Everyone would get a satellite dish, and they get like three of them sometimes, and because they're all competing with each other,
Yep.
and they're all crap, all of them. By the
Did,
way, that's the worst thing about satellite TV. If you watch a lot of it, you'll be dumb. So
mhm.
don't do that. It's too
Did,
much.
did anyone ever really pay for AOL minutes? I don't think they did. I think they just waited until those floppies came in the mail. Yeah. So
Yeah,
either
floppy CDs. Ugh.
speaking of that time and that era,
Mm,
Nathan, I think we should just jump in. We
mm.
should just jump into our headlines, and one of the first headlines is something that we've been saying in different iterations. Skype is dying. Skype is dying.
For real this time.
Yeah, they stopped selling. I think the last time that we talked about this was when you were on the show. Was they stopped selling tokens? So essentially, the ability to buy like the currency that they use, so that you can make international calls, or you could make
Well,
different kinds of calls. Um, yeah.
I was subscriber. I was subscriber. For those who don't know, for the most part, we use Skype to record the Popzara podcast. Occasionally, sometimes Zoom, sometimes this and that. But Skype was and remains quite a good piece of software for this. Frankly, the best overall for a lot of things. The problem is, and I've told you this before. I've said this to you many times, is that it's being run by monkeys because they have this really good piece of software that's really sophisticated. The latency is unbelievable. They have screen sharing capabilities, they have file sharing. You could do so much with Skype. It's so fast and it's so good, but the interface is so bad. It's so sloppy. And I think I was joking with you last time we chatted actually about how Microsoft would prioritize emojis
Mm-hmm.
over actual features.
No.
Like I'm trying to get some serious work done. I have to go through emoji levels before I can get to like actual work features. And I actually canceled my subscription for phones because again, a lot of the people we would talk to didn't have Skype, or let's be honest, I'm going to be very, very, very generous here. Don't know how to use the computer very well. And so
Yeah.
we would have a lot of older people who just couldn't do it, right? And they didn't have assistants who can set it up for them. And so we'd call their phones. Like
Mm-hmm.
I talked to quite a few high profile people that make the news regularly, and they would have cell phones, and we would call out with Skype. I'd have to get a subscription to get a phone number. They'd call in. It worked really well.
It's kind of the fun part of being in the tech world because
Mhm,
you and I were fairly connected. We know about new technologies and that kind of thing. But you're right, when we do interviews and we connect with a lot of these higher
mhm.
level management, and you talk to just everyday people, like even people who are in charge of tech companies. Yeah, like if you do business or you talk to these people, you need to be able to take or send phone calls. That is still like it hasn't gone the way of the fax machine,
Well,
but phone calls are still mandatory.
I'm going to let you in on a little secret that no one knows until now.
Hmm.
So one of the stories I gave you was a miscellaneous story that's basically self promotion for Popzara podcast. We did a podcast last week. I'm going to tell you a little secret. So I gathered the crew together and we got on Skype and everybody's having a good time. And we do this mega podcast, 3 hours.
Hmm.
That's like Joe Rogan
Yeah, that's
length. That's a
huge.
lot. That's way too much. I'll be the first one to tell you. And I recorded the damn thing. It's too long. Someone needs to trim it. So if you're listening, but anyway, and it was fantastic. We did this amazing conversation. I'm so happy. And I send the files over to my editor, right? My producer.
Hmm.
10 minutes later, I get this email. I get this text. Guess what? Skype did not record my voice. And I'll
No.
tell you what happened. It was a driver conflict because Skype was one of those programs, it still does it, that it will decide to just change some of your settings without telling you. And you would never know unless you know. And I was really tired when this happened. It's 3 hours, by the way. And they're on California time and I'm not. They recorded fine because Skype can record calls, by the way. Did you know this? But Skype has multiple instances of microphone inputs. Like if you go into Windows, if you have
Hmm.
Windows 11 or 10, if you go into your sound settings, you will see a smorgasbord of different things. Windows considers everything plugged in your computer a sound device. Your monitor, sometimes it'll consider a monitor a microphone. it'll consider a microphone a speaker. It's stupid. It's moronic.
It's like I can pull up I don't think there's any information here that I really care about. These are all the sound settings I have. These are all just outputs. These are just speakers, and you can see I have I'm probably more than most, but I have a dozen, and then microphones same way, like a dozen.
I have to go in and turn all that, don't allow.
Yeah,
but for some reason
you can't just disable them. You have to deactivate them. Yeah.
So you know what? Speaking of that, but no, 3 hours and it was lost. And thank goodness they were generous enough. We were able to re-record it and publish it, and it's on the site now. But man, I was ready to. I think Skype's dying because I wished it to die. I think I did this. I think I did one of those movies where I just wish. I said I wish Skype was dead, and it's dead. Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah. So
it was so frustrating.
Yeah. So for everyone out there who's looking at the video portion, you can see there that this is an article from Microsoft saying that essentially they're telling everyone who's using Skype still to just go to Teams. Just use Teams.
Not going to happen. They did this before. They tried this before. And by the way, real quick, they decommissioned Skype 2 years ago with Windows 11. They took it out of the build. They insisted that you use Teams. No normal person uses Teams. That's a business piece of software. Nobody's using Teams. First of all, the name is dumb. No one's going to use it. And now they're recommending it again. And I don't know. This feels like when Microsoft got out of the music business. Remember when they got out of and I think they're just out of the business of this.
This will be studied in the same business classes as somehow during the rise of the internet, Sears, who capitalized in putting catalogs in your mailbox and sending things to your home, somehow completely fudged up the rise of the internet and put themselves out of business. I think, and not saying Microsoft is anywhere near out of business, but this particular product, right place, right service, right time, completely botched, and Skype is now going. So.
And the funny thing about it is that what Microsoft should have done, postmortem, they should have just done the hard choice and made people consolidate. Instead, they kept alive old accounts. They kept alive multiple instances. They confused the hell out of everybody. They mistreated this piece of software that, like I said, it's first class, better than Zoom in a lot of ways, as far as quality goes. But they just, as opposed to a company like Google, for example, Google has some sort of schizophrenic relationship with chat services and all this stuff. And, there was a time when Skype was so pivotal to news generation that, cable companies, speaking of CNN, whatever, they would use Skype in lieu of cameramen, because it could transmit video over the internet relatively well.
Yeah.
And, but no, it's just, I don't know.
I read a comment, and I looked it up, and it's true that so you know how in the English language we have Google, to Google something is to search it on essentially Google. In German, they have Skypen. So it's Skype N, and it means to make a video call. So you Skype in someone. That shows you how important Skype was to their social fabric, that it made it into the German language. They had the mind share, they had the computer share, they had the share of the services. They just conceded it all to Zoom. I don't know what happened. The pandemic was a crazy time.
I do want to make a comment that there's a few other interesting German words that I could say that would get you banned on certain networks.
I bet.
The Germans, their language sounds liquid, but they have some fun derogatory terms. But no, they completely botched it. I can only say this sort of neglect is increasingly common for Microsoft when it comes to certain legacy programs, and somebody would say legacy hardware too. And so we could have a whole episode just about Microsoft's bad decisions.
Yeah,
but maybe they've just decided to get out of the market.
I'm sure just one more bad decision, and they're going to be worth $4 trillion. I'm sure the next bad decision.
I know, they really need my advice. So they've been doing so poorly. I just feel like Grandpa Simpson, old man shouts at clouds.
Yeah, they're obviously doing stuff right. Yeah, they're obviously doing stuff right, but there are some of their products that people rely on, which is the problem with technology. There are people who, like, let's say, build smart homes around a certain technology. Smart homes had a really big problem with this, with like Zigbee, Z-Wave, B-Wave, and whatever all these other standards were. Before there was like a de facto, like, I think Apple had their own home ecosystem. Before there's like a de facto, like the market has decided this is what everyone's going to use. A lot of dead technology, and this actually branches into one of our other stories real quick that I found here. I'll send you.
I saw that story. I didn't send it, but I did see it.
Yeah. It's dead technology leads to a lot of problems, and a lot of people, if you bet on the wrong horse, you're in for some pain. But that's the way technology goes, and Skype is going the way of
I will say this though: this might be the right choice for them. Like I'm disappointed up to a point, but not really. I feel the same way about losing Skype the way I felt about losing like optical media in my Windows machine. Like on one hand, I'm part of me is going to miss it, and the other hand is that I haven't missed it for 10 years.
Yeah.
And so there are other programs that do what Skype does as pretty much as well as Skype does. I will say one thing though. Zoom, you have to pay to get like multi-user access, whereas Skype you could have quite a few people on the call at one time for nothing. So I'll miss that. I'll miss not paying. So.
Yeah, they I will say that by focusing on Teams, I think they have decided that the home user really is not, or even the small business really isn't that important. Because like I've seen Teams being used in the wild. It's very robust for an organization that has, thousands and thousands of employees. And it makes sense that from a business standpoint, that's where you're going to focus. And like you think of a service like Slack, for instance, Teams has replaced Slack. Slack used to have a very, very secure place.
You could criticize Slack the same way you could criticize Microsoft's mistreatment of Skype for the same reasons, and they just ceded their entire market share over to something like Discord, which is basically a spinoff of Slack. So
Slack for kids. It's really good.
Very popular.
So by the way, just wanted to touch on this story real quick. If you're watching the video portion, you can see it there. This is from Engadget. What is your relationship, Nathan, with Command and Conquer?
Not robust, but it's there. I had a lot of fun. I, like a lot of people who couldn't afford a computer, I think my first experience with Command and Conquer was on the PlayStation. And I think anybody who's ever played some of the spin-offs, I think Dune was also basically a Command and Conquer game. Yeah. It's like I said, at some point there was basically Command and Conquer and Warcraft.
Yeah.
I was a Warcraft person because I favored that aesthetic. Can I say that?
The fantasy versus,
But I do like Command and Conquer. I think the game is very robust. I remember the full motion video on some of the versions where they have those outrageously bad actors. I think it was the Russian guy. I forget all about it. But no, this is a franchise that's been dormant for a very long time.
Yeah, the Command and Conquer has been around for a long time. I remember one of my first computer games like ever. Like the first one was like Warcraft, and then after that it was Command and Conquer Red Alert. It was a lot of fun. So the article here makes it known that there's been a big struggle behind the scenes that a lot of people don't really pay attention to. This wraps into old technology, defunct technology. Old games that run on old engines, that run on old operating systems. There's a real danger of, the media that happened back then cannot be played on machines today without emulators and whatnot. And really, Nathan, the problem with copyright is if you want to preserve this stuff, a lot of these game studios don't exist anymore. And EA is, one of the exceptions. EA has been around for 30 years, but a lot of game studios and a lot, either they purchase, they change hands, they just go completely defunct and they just fall apart.
I do want to correct you though. You're right that the name has been around for a long time, but the problem is when a game company gets to be this old, it's sort of like the game, ironically, Katamari Damacy, like the Universal
the
God.
Big ball
It just rolled into one, and it starts becoming layers upon layers upon layers, and eventually there's no thorough line from today to yesterday, like you said, because there's so many layers of bureaucracy and so many interstitials between them. Like I guarantee you, if you go up to anybody at EA and say, give me the source code for Command and Conquer," they're not going to know what to do or who to ask or anything about it.
Ironically, some of the stories I've heard is like they literally call up the guy who's like, "Oh yeah, I was a quality tester for this game back in 1998. I went and checked my attic, and yeah, I had one of the master disc when I was checking the code, in a box up in my attic, and it somehow still works." Mm-hmm. Like that's how they saved like some of the games. So the whole point here is. Mm-hmm. This is a big win for Command & Conquer fans out there that EA somehow did the right thing and released the source code for Command & Conquer Red Alert, Command & Conquer Renegade, and Command & Conquer Generals. They released it completely open source. Anyone can go out there, compile it, run it, play it, look at it. And as far as like preservation, this kind of thing needs to happen more when games are no longer anywhere near commercially valuable. Preserving them is becoming a bigger and bigger topic of conversation. So
yeah, and there's a lot of companies that do it, but they do it more for financial gain than it is, like you said, for any type of game preservation. But my biggest issue is that the companies you think would be good stewards of this sort of thing are not good stewards of this sort of thing. And the problem is, you go back to Microsoft. Microsoft has spent billions and billions and billions of dollars to try to gain a foothold in the gaming industry, to not have so much of a foothold. Like I don't think people realize how tenuous like Microsoft's like participation in the gaming industry is right now.
Yeah, pretty much every year we're talking about, will Xbox make it another year? So yeah.
Well, not even just Xbox, but it just in terms of like this is a company that for the last 20 years has been collecting development studios, right? Stripping them of IP and basically, shutting the studios down because they want the intellectual property and not so much the property. They want the brand. And
you say stuff like this. You say stuff like this, and I know that Activision Blizzard was purchased by Microsoft, and you're scaring me. You're scaring me, Nathan.
Well,
don't do that.
The thing about it, though, I'll just be honest with you. Thankfully, there's a lot of hobbyists out there, like you said, that have collections, so to speak. But there are several companies out there that have really gone into games preservation as a business. And I think that's fantastic. I think it's something like we need a Criterion Collection version of the gaming industry that's able to go back and actually do this. And to be honest with you, I know the Hollywood is largely self-funded, but it would be nice if there was some sort of institutionalized company that dealt with this, that everyone could participate in. Like I think that's going to happen, especially. Man, you want to talk about the word disparate. There's a lot of collecting that needs to go on to save this thing.
Yeah.
It's all over the place.
Yeah. Like there are games that, you may think, I remember that. Oh, I remember that. Like the Internet Archive is one repository of old games. If you are like totally bored and you want something to do, highly recommend the Internet Archive when it comes to old, they call it their Internet Arcade. I can actually pull it up here. If you're really bored, they actually have a lot of these that run on an emulator within most modern browsers. And you can play Space Invaders, Tetris, Sonic the Hedgehog. You can play Metal Gear Slug. You can play all these games directly from your browser. And they're all backed up. They are, preserved. This is like the ideal, Nathan, like after a game, has been commercially successful or unsuccessful, doesn't really matter. But like after that, Paperboy is not going to come back out. It's not going to make any more money. Preserve it, upload it, save it.
A lot of it has to do with licensing, though. It's like good luck trying to find like the licensing of who owns what, or what subsidy owns this or that. That's going to be the tough thing.
100%. Because some of these games, you're right. Like the game companies that own the rights don't even exist. The people who made these games are don't even remember their video game making days. Yeah.
Oh, and there's something even that no one even wants to discuss, is that so much of what constituted game development in the 80s and everything has basically been paper napkin contracts. Like no one even knows if anyone owns the rights to these things anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I would say this. It's a big conversation. Go look up the history of Atari and understand that Atari still exists today, but
Mm-hmm.
it exists purely in name only and as a repository to sort of churn out endless revisions of old content. And to its credit, they're doing a pretty good job of it.
Yeah, the old they've been putting out. We even talked about that last year. The master collections, the different ones. Yeah, it has like little video documentaries. Yeah,
it's
they've been doing
weird how they've come around to that. So
yeah, it's not really so much like the Atari games that you can. People are going back and actually taking the time, effort to preserve those. It's the ones that are potentially being lost to time. So that's where a lot of effort is. Anyways, all that aside, let's go ahead and jump over to another story because we've gotten a little bit off track. It's okay. Real quick, let's talk about Apple. And even before we start talking about the Apple iPhone 16e, I have not shared this with anyone on the show, and something that Nathan picked up almost immediately due to green bubbles. Yeah, and just Apple's native way of just saying, "Hey, you're equal but different, separate but equal."
Just call it what it is: segregated chat bubbles.
It is segregation. Shame on you. No. But anyways, I've used Apple for pretty much since like 2011. I want to say, 14 years with with a single operating system. I will say, in that 14 years, it has not been my gateway drug. I have not, gone the way of Craig Crossman of like getting the Mac computer and the Apple Watch and tablets and so on and so forth. I did not invest myself in the Apple ecosystem. I simply had an iPhone and I had Microsoft, everything else, and I used Google services online. I was out buying a phone. I was like, I don't want this current iteration of iPhone. Long story short, Nathan, I felt like the AI features that were in this generation of iPhone, I think they'll be better next year. They're not that great this year. There's nothing that made me say, wow, what a great feature. I really want that. So I was like, I'm interested.
You're a tech guy. You should be swapping off every 2 years or so.
Yeah, and I kind of realized that. And also they had like a $500 discount. I had like a $300 trade-in. Essentially, I got a $1,300 phone.
What'd you get?
I got the Pixel 9, is like Pixel 9a Max or something like that, whatever it's called.
These names are so stupid.
Yeah, Pixel 9 Max Pro, whatever it is.
Alpha plus Omega.
Yeah, the Pixel 9 Pro XL. That's what I got. It has been, it's been a little confusing because again, coming 14 years off a different operating system, it's the gestures are different and here and there. But Nathan, I'll be honest. From a strictly iPhone person, yes, I like it. I absolutely do. It has been a little bit of a transition, but overall, Google is putting out a great product. They really are, and I like it a lot. So
they how much experience do you have with Android? Like, do you have a tablet or do you have
we're a mixed household. We're a mixed household. So my wife has an Android phone.
A mixed household. Yes. Segregation, mixed household. What year is this?
Exactly. So my wife has been using Samsung phones for as long as I've known her, and I've used it here and there. I didn't think anything too bad of it. I thought the cameras are great and the operating system was pretty intuitive. But I was like, Pixel was like the one operating system I had not tried, and I like it a lot.
Yeah. I'm very disappointed with the news we're going to talk about. The launch of the iPhone 16e, formerly known as the iPhone SE, 2025. I am an iPhone SE person. I told you I'm not an Apple person. I'm an iPhone person. I'm going to remain an iPhone person, but I don't know how much longer. I was eagerly anticipating the new SE. I wanted a budget phone, and I get it. It's going to cost this or whatever. The iPhone SE 2022, the one that I have now, has a 4-inch screen, has the button. It's very outdated. By modern standards, people go, ew, yuck.
It still has the home button?
Has the home button.
That's crazy.
But I don't want the face thing. There are people like me, which I've learned are probably a very minority, keeping with the theme of this segment. And but the fact is that they apparently I can't have the smaller screen, can't have the button, got to have Face ID, got to have this, and I got to have a bigger price. And so Apple is no longer making budget phones. They are making iPhones, and none of them are cheap. They're all expensive. And people say, well, you get more. Well, I don't want more. Like you mentioned AI, right?
Yeah.
I have an iPad, right, with a thing, and I've used Apple Intelligence. It's not very intelligent. If that's your selling point for an iPhone, you're going to be disappointed. Like, I just want, look, the reason I have the iPhone, the reason a lot of people have the iPhone is because we don't want to think. We want Apple to do the thinking for us.
True.
I don't want to worry about viruses. I don't want to worry about updates. Like the iPhone has I would say the best in the industry for continual updates. I would call it the most seamless. And I don't think this is a fanboy talking. I think just the nature of Android phones being disparate OEMs, like Samsung and One and Google and all this, they don't have the same build of Android. They have forked versions of it. And some of them have their own launchers. They have their own this. iPhone has iPhone. And you use it or you don't. That's it. That's the whole point. That's a feature, not a bug. People say walled gardens.
It was very different going to the Google one, and they use the Google Play Store. I'm sure like Android, and seeing that they're adding like little badges to apps that are like kind of verified, but they don't exclude like Apple does. Like if you have a service and you pay enough money, you can promote your crappy app to the top, and it's not verified, it's not vetted. Very jarring from Apple. That was the biggest difference.
The biggest reason I have Apple still, I mean, I'm connected to some services, but nothing I can't live without. Like, I don't use a lot of iCloud services. I mean, I use contacts and everything, but again, I pay for a Microsoft Exchange account. I could easily do that on there, and I wouldn't skip a beat. I mean, Apple and Google, for the most part, offer a very, very similar phone at the core of it. I have a question though. Who does your voicemail?
No, it's just default. I have not changed that at all. So
no, I mean, have you tried using your visual voicemail?
Visual voicemail? No, not yet. No.
I'll see a lot of Android phones don't have it. There's no stock visual voicemail out. Things like that, and you kind of like forget that Android is the Wild West.
So visual voicemail is that the one that transcribes your voicemail essentially?
Yeah. There's a bunch of features.
They do have that, and I have used that here and there, and it works pretty good. Yeah, they actually do use that.
But like for the most part, you're going to get the same carrier service. You're going to get a very good text message. Like you're not going to get iMessage. You're not going to get a lot, but you're probably going to get that Google Pixel phone probably costs a lot less than $600. Which is the least expensive Apple phone now, which is crazy.
Again, I don't know why they had a $500 discount, but it was $500 off.
Oh, they do it all the time. They do it all the time with Android phones. They basically give them away.
Yeah, who the heck knows? But yeah, I got essentially the phone I got for $400, and I was like, that is low enough, and I was like, I can always exchange it because of the carrier I use. I'm not going to name them because sometimes I really hate them. I can always trade up and trade different, which I might go back to Apple next year. It's
so different though than it was 5-6 years ago. Like you can pretty much get the phone with the carrier you want. Yeah. Like you remember the old days of CDMA and this and that. And
only AT&T had iPhone for a few years. Yeah.
Oh man. But look, I would say this: have fun with the Android phones. They're very good phones. Apple has I could name you 100 reasons about why Apple's grown stagnant, why they're not sexy with tech people anymore. But again, that's the stuff that some people like. They want a boring phone that, I'll just be honest with you, that does everything. Like if you have an iPhone, let's just be clear, if you have an iPhone, it pretty much does almost everything you could ever want to do.
So you're absolutely right. When I switched over to the Pixel and I'm kind of exploring features, there is like nothing I would say right now that, and admittedly I had an iPhone, to tell you how long it's been since I upgraded. I had an iPhone 11. was
it's
the last
phone.
Yeah, it was a great phone, and I think that's kind of the problem. Was the 12, I was like, not much different, don't need it. 13, not much different, don't need it. 14, 15, not much different. 16, I'm like, I'm starting to think about AI, and I kind of liked it, but I felt like the features were half baked. The 17 I might be into, but the 16 I was not. So anyways, I jump over all this. Long story short, I will say that the Pixel has been very nice. The one thing that I love about it has been they give you like Google One, like whatever that service is. It spans all of their different products. Because like I use Gmail and I use Google Calendars and I use might be using Google Meet here soon. It comes with a year free of that, which comes with the upgraded Gemini AI that Google's putting out. Nathan, I will say, Gemini has been just so much fun, and it has been integrated into all the services that I already use. It's been great. Like
What do you do with it? What do you do with Gemini?
So any kind of Google search has been completely replaced with Gemini. I can talk in a very natural way, and just be like, I was just thinking about this. What do you think about? And like, it will give, typical AI generated, slop. I can have it send emails. I can have it send text. I can have it, find me a web page. I can have it find videos. I can. I've actually been using it for the show on the back end when I make show notes here for the show. So like, I would get, just finished recording with Ralph Bond, one of our other correspondents, and I would get, he has this show notes, and I would have to do essentially like plug and chug, where you just delete everything except the headlines, the links, the sources, and you copy and paste that. That's your show notes, and that's kind of what would go into the description of the podcast. I'm able to take Gemini and just be like, take out everything but the headlines, the sources, and leave the links intact, and and
like
output
a summarized
that for me.
Version of it.
And like what would take me like 5-10 minutes to do, and like I'm not asking it to generate anything. It's all made by people. It's just doing the grunt work for me. That has been such a time saver. I love it.
Is that something you can do on the iPhone with the Google app though?
So
is it system? Is Gemini hardware based, or is it software, like server based?
Software. So I can open up Gmail in my browser, and it would do all that for me through Gmail. Like, because I got it free with the hardware, it works on my desktop as well, which is why I think I like it so much.
But you get the subscription, right?
Yes, comes with a subscription for like a year for free. So I'm trying it out, and I like it a lot. Like, I'm sure even after a year, even if I go back to iPhone, I'll probably go back to using Gemini. Regardless.
If it's compatible, like we don't know, like when these AI systems become OS centric, they may forbid like competing OS. You know what I mean? So they may forbid like competing AI module.
Yeah, which I hope they don't do, because two things I will say out there for everyone. We have so first thing, transferring from iPhone to Google Pixel, I will say the only thing that did not work was iMessage. Fun enough.
Of course.
Sure. I could not take any of my text messages, any of my conversations of years of using it, and all of it is just gone. So I have no more text messages. I had to start over from scratch. If you're going from iPhone to Android, it's supposed to work. There's like a system in place that supposedly does it. Mine just completely deleted everything. So
yeah,
it is what it is.
Traitor.
iMessage is notorious not really working with Android. So, and I will say, so there was that whole thing. And the other big difference already flew out of my head. But anyways, the big thing was just iMessage is completely gone. Everything else transferred great, worked great, and it's been working pretty damn good overall. I actually like it a lot.
They I don't know where you want to go with it. I guess we could finish off the iPhone 16e. It's the new iPhone. It comes out today. I was planning on getting it. I'm way on the fence because there's what you would consider upgrades. I don't want. Like, I don't want the bigger screen. I don't want the face recognition. I don't want there's a lot of things I don't want. I do want the USB-C. Like, I wouldn't mind having a better battery. Like, there's some stuff I do like, but Ben, I cannot justify the price jump. Yeah, like I just can't. I can't do that.
I don't know where. Like, I think Apple...
It's ridiculous, like
Apple
the price jump.
Yeah, Apple has made a lot of comments with their investor calls, which is probably the best place to get, because they always have like their Apple events that you can get information from. But the best, most accurate information you can get is from their investor calls. And time again, they're like, consumers are a bit price conscious, they're sensitive, but they can manage an increase. They can absorb the increase. They can, the lower range phones are successful, they're good, but we can get more out of them. So I think that's really the point, is like they're giving you some bones, but they're increasing the price and not really giving you a choice because they know they'll stick.
The other thing is the size of the phone. It goes from 4 inches to 6, which again, most people seem to want that, but not everyone has big fat fingers. Some people I'll be honest with you. Sometimes it hurts my hand when I have to hold. Like, I don't want a phone that's big in my pocket. I don't do that. I want something smaller. I would get a flip phone if I had to, but I am not the target demographic. Like, I am not. I know the iPhone Mini did not sell very well. They got rid of the iPod Touch a few years ago because no one wanted that. And I guess this is it. This is the end of the era. Goodbye Lightning. Goodbye home button. Hello action button, I guess. But it's just, I don't know. I have used Apple's AI quite a bit on my new iPad, and I use it for the Mac Mini, the 2024 when we were testing it. It's boring. Maybe that's the point. But I have a very, I don't know. I have a very antagonistic view of AI as a module, and we can get into that. We can
talk a little bit about AI if you like. Yeah, sure.
Well, I mean, because I know a couple other things. One story we talked about is Microsoft released Copilot on Mac, so I guess Apple's OS at least is friendly to other modules. I've been playing I have Windows 11. And every 10 minutes, Microsoft will update the OS with new AI features that no one asked for. Right. But thankfully, they've seemed to have resisted the recall feature that nobody asked for and nobody seems to like. But I'll tell you what, you use Windows 11?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Do you use Word? Do you use Notepad?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Do me a favor. Open up Notepad real quick.
Sure.
Can you put it on your screen?
Yeah.
Good old Notepad. Do you use Notepad a lot, or are you friendly with it?
I use it. It may sound stupid. I use it for notes, for sure.
Yeah, no, literally, it's Notepad. Okay, let's see the toolbar on it real quick. Let's see the version you have. Let's see if you have one of the newest updates.
I mean,
can you
toolbar,
can you bring it?
Yeah, all that stuff. 11.2412.16.
Can you lower it a little bit?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry. There you go.
Let's see.
It's 11.24.
Okay, so let's open up Notepad. So you could type something.
Yeah. What's up?
Okay. Look at that. You have Copilot in Notepad, right there, right there,
right up here at the top right.
Yeah, that thing right there.
Make longer.
Yeah.
Oh, and it's asked me to sign in.
Now you notice you notice you got to sign in Notepad, right?
Yeah.
Why is that? You know why? Because Microsoft lets you use all this AI goodness, but they charge you credits for it, which you don't see unless you're logged in to the main account. So what they've done, whether you know it or not, and this is a big PSA, is they have now basically turned apps like Word and Outlook and Notepad into Candy Crush. You now have credits that you have to pay for to use AI. And every time you query or you ping a Copilot, it uses a credit. It ain't free.
I did know that. I did know that because when they first launched the Copilot beta, they gave you like 30 credits. Like they didn't even make it like free. They just gave you 30 credits to kind of try out. And then after that, the more complex, the more, difficult the thing was. Like, it's not just limited to like one credit, one query. It's like, you could use up 10 credits with one complex thing. It's yeah, bit of a racket.
It's basically microtransactions embedded. But more than that, though, think about this. Now that means they're tracking what you do in Notepad. Should be the cleanest, most sterile program in the world, right?
Yeah.
Like this is what's happening. This is the problem I have. That's why I was wondering about Gemini. And I know Apple, to their credit, doesn't really do this. Apple, you could just use their version of this all day long. There's no credit charges for it.
I said this where I had two things to say about Pixel, and then the other one flew my head, and I just talked about the losing iMessage. The second thing was, I will be honest with everyone, and for the Google overlords that now own my soul, I went into this experience saying, you know what? Y'all get everything. Everyone gets everything that they ask for. If they want my blood type, if they want my sperm count, if they want whatever, if they want my brainwaves while I'm sleeping, Nathan, I said, forget it. Everyone gets every permission that they could possibly want. I am living, I am essentially going into the nudist colony of tech. And I said, everyone gets every permission. And I will say, the interconnectivity, like the ease of entering passwords now, the ease of using information from different apps with other apps, the interconnectivity, once you kind of let yourself be exposed like that, I guess you could say, has been fantastic. Now, I have given up all forms of privacy. I know that I'm now subject to their data protection policies, which I'm sure are lacking to the extreme, but it does work when you give up all sense of privacy. Things work very well together.
That is true. Like, Benjamin Franklin had a quote about that. Those who give up liberty, give it for safety deserve neither liberty nor safety.
Yeah.
The problem though is, again, I'm not one of those conspiracy guys. I do like having expedited thing, because frankly, I don't have time for their nonsense. There are so many different password managers, different pass keys, different this and that. I don't have time for it. It is exhausting. And at some point, they just wear you down. You're like, take it. I don't care. Just take it. Mother's maiden name, you got it. You got it. Everything. Hair, like you said. But the problem though isn't that. The problem is that you have the commoditization of it, right? You have things that used to be part of the ecosystem. Like, another thing is Copilot on Mac. Good luck with that. Good luck. But Amazon had a big show this week where they debuted Alexa Plus. Alexa has been very famously a money loser for Amazon. It has not generated any money for them. They've lost billions. So they decided to create a new version called Alexa Plus.
So, and yeah, and I just want to say that Alexa has been very fun to follow over the years, because Amazon famously subsidized the hardware to get the software into your home. They gave these things, they didn't give them out, but they were like, hey, here's $10 for
they were real cheap. They were real cheap, like $30-$40.
Yeah, it was like $30 for a good speaker that would fill your whole room with sound. Like, you could not get another speaker with that sound quality for that price, and it came with the digital assistant. I think I read somewhere that 1 in every 3 homes this was in the UK, but 1 in every 3 homes in the UK has an Amazon speaker.
Well, it works. I mean, the Alexa thing works pretty well, whereas the Google Home one did not work very well at all. So I think the Gemini thing can only help that out. The Alexa thing, the thing that gets me about the Alexa thing isn't Alexa. Okay, Amazon AI got it. Checks all the boxes, right? Got to be bigger, faster, more reliable. It's the pricing scheme. So the idea is that we knew that a lot of this AI goodness was going to cost enterprise a lot of money. They were going to try to pass that along to consumers by, like you said, instituting credits and all this. But Amazon just did a la carte, and they said $20 a month, which seems outrageously expensive for a consumer product, right? That's like more expensive than Amazon just to have an AI assistant that nobody wanted when it was free, right?
Right.
So the thing is, but if you have Amazon Prime, then you don't have to pay. I say to myself, someone at Amazon is messing with people, because $20 a month is way more expensive than just getting a one-time subscription to Amazon Prime. They can't be this transparently evil, can they? Where they are now going to overprice the monthly fee to basically try to convince you to get Amazon Prime, get this thing inside your thing, raise the price, start inculcating it into everything. And I looked at Copilot. Copilot's in all these Microsoft apps where it used to be innocent, used to be separate.
Yeah.
Amazon wants to get you hooked onto Alexa. So now you have Copilot, Gemini, Alexa, whatever the hell Apple's calling it. I don't think they call it. Yeah, it's Siri, but I don't think it's called Siri.
Yeah.
So we have all these competing AIs. And I told you this before the show, Ben. The last time I saw the tech industry get all in on everything, on every aspect, all in so fast, no holds barred, despite all the flaws, despite all the defects, despite all the problems, was back in like 1998 when I lived in California, when everybody was getting on the .com boom. Everything was .com. Everybody, they didn't care. AOL bought Warner Brothers, you name it. Like we're going to rename the center everything, and that didn't turn out very well. And I look at all this stuff, and I'm like, do you remember the movie Highlander?
Mm-hmm.
There can only be one.
There can be only one. Yep.
I don't know if so many AI models can play together nicely in this schoolyard. It seems a little self-defeating.
Yeah. So I think a big part of this is AI, unlike the .com thing, because .com was more like a moniker, handle, whatever, and the .com boom and bust. But like AI actually does and can do very cool things. Now, we're not really a financial thing, so we don't talk about stock price and Nvidia and all that good stuff. But I will say that the money seems, just from my humble opinion, the money seems to have gotten ahead of the product 100%. The products are very cool. They have a place. They aren't going anywhere. I don't think it's going to be, I don't think it'll set the tech industry back, 5-10 years like the .com boom did. But the money has gotten ahead of the technology for sure. And that's why you're getting these, you were just talking about the Alexa one. And then I think yesterday OpenAI had one as well. And Microsoft has theirs. Like every
major OS has it. Every major manufacturer has their own one. That's not even to say the ones that are going to come. Like, for example, we haven't even talked about ChatGPT, right? The granddaddy of this one. We haven't talked about how they're possibly going to be going into litigation with Elon Musk for ownership or possible like fraud of this. The question is, let me do a hypothetical. Let's say ChatGPT, which by the way I think is linking up with Apple. By the way, let's say they go to court with Elon Musk and
ChatGPT,
the court fines for Elon Musk because they created material infraction of whatever. And so they say, okay, oh darn, we'll have to pay a fine. They have to pay a X amount of fine. So be it. That's what happened with Facebook and the Winklevoss twins years ago. The court found that Facebook was guilty of, and basically investor fraud. They had to pay a fine, and oh no, we're only going to make $1 trillion. Like you see what's happening. It's not so much what Microsoft and Amazon and Apple and Gemini or whatever are doing. It's the fact everybody is pushing this so far. And Hollywood is saying, listen to me carefully, Hollywood is saying we don't want it, but yet several of the Academy Award nominated movies this year used AI. Disney's saying, oh, we don't like it. We're going to have a writer's strike. We're going to have a whatever strike. We promise we won't do it. But they went ahead and did it anyway. Like the publishers are saying, oh, don't scrape our books for information, but they're doing it anyway. Like everybody's doing it anyway. Games are doing it anyway. Like Call of Duty Black Ops 6 was made with AI. They said they wouldn't do it, but they did it anyway. They're all doing it. It's going to happen whether you can't believe anything anybody says. Now, will this cause jobs? Absolutely. It will negate certain jobs. It will create new jobs, but it mostly negate. There's going to be a lot of things with AI book writing, AI school writing, AI labeling, AI. But every computer you use is going to use a version of it. Every phone you use is going to use a version of it. Every piece of software you're going to be using it. And you look at it, and none of these companies seem to be able to control it. And we talk about safety, we talk about privacy and everything. But Ben, I don't think they give a damn. I don't think they care. No. I don't think they care because at the end of the day, AI exists for one reason and one reason only. It is a super vacuum of information suckage. Where they want to vacuum as much information as possible, and okay, they got your grandmother's maiden name, collateral damage. They got your prescription, your ED prescription, collateral damage.
There was an article that we didn't get that I thought was really funny. I think it was on Ars Technica about Microsoft's own service, their Copilot. And so they own GitHub, I think. And GitHub has repositories that are open to the public.
I saw that story. I did see this story, yeah.
It was funny because like they had ones that were open to the public that they were then corrected to be private because they had proprietary code in it. And because of the giant vacuum of information that you're just talking about, Nathan, you could ask about, a GitHub repository that has since been made private that they would then pull up as public because it had sucked the information up before they, changed it. So once the information is in there, no one goes into these large language models and sanitizes, corrects, deletes, changes information. Just the more the merrier. There is no removing, for sure.
Well, I think what we're going to consider controversial, we don't understand quite yet. I think we're looking at just the superficiality of AI and saying, like I said, oh, it's going to steal our jobs. Yeah, probably a little bit. It's going to create black Nazis and founding and Korean founding fathers. Okay, well that's kind of funny, but that's just someone with their finger on the scale. Like that's all novelty. I don't think the true benefits or the true negatives of AI are quite known yet. And what scares me a little bit is that AI does seem to be a solution in search of a problem. Like we could say to ourselves, it makes, like you said, it's got applications to make things more efficient, to make things more, to faster. It's one thing to say, hey, okay, organize my schedule. It's another thing to say, write me my term paper.
Yeah.
Like college professors are not going to be able to deal with this. They cannot deal with this. And
I
at a certain
promise
point,
you,
it'll be okay.
So I promise you that I'm actually going back and taking some classes already. Online college, great, it's cool stuff. And I will say that the threat from AI is already ever present. They have checkers. They have AI to check if your paper is AI. And Nathan, I cannot say that it's 100% perfect. They are looking for it. They will not catch it. But it is ever present in academia right now, for sure.
But that's the thing, though. See, that's the argument that I think is going to be invalidated. Like I remember when I'm old enough to remember when calculators in the classroom were considered controversial, right? Yeah. Nowadays, you have to get a TI-95 or whatever. Yeah, you have to get a graphing calculator.
It's like you're not always going to have access to a calculator. You got to be able to do this, by hand. And it's like, well, now we can always have a calculator.
I'm not that old, but I'm one of those people that was right there when the web started, like really started. And you had to go down to the library, you had to open up an encyclopedia, you had to do research, you had to wait in line, photocopy, you had to cite sources. And Google was not allowed. Like we didn't have Google back then. You couldn't quote an internet source because it wasn't, You still see people talk about Wikipedia like this. But Ben, I'll be honest with you, the second generation of AI, it's going to be accepted. In fact, it'll probably be required at some point. Like there will be a switch of which the second generation of AI users is going to look back at this generation and laugh at them and say, what do you mean you didn't require AI? You need it. Like, what do you mean? You have to have AI sources. You have to have this. No. You have to show your work. And AI will be the work.
I do think that you're absolutely right. It's the tool is not going anywhere, and as long as it can be proven, and as long as it can be improved, you're right. Yeah, once the tool exists, you don't just shun the tool like you're saying about Hollywood and music and movies. You don't just shun the tool because you don't like it or you think it's unethical. Yeah.
Well, I don't even know what that looks like, to be honest with you. I'm purely speculating, but it's like you go into a classroom and there's light bulbs, right? You need a light bulb. If the heat's not on in winter, they close the classroom down. Those are modern conveniences that did not exist 200 years ago. Yeah. But now you can't have it without it. You have to have a computer. You have to have internet access. In fact, what do you call it? What's the software that everyone uses? My goodness gracious.
For controlling
when I went to with college, I remember Blackboard, right? Back end things. Like even I remember the conversation when I was in school when Blackboard was constantly going down, and you had deadlines of like midnight. And even if Blackboard went down, you were still responsible for getting your assignment in on time.
Yeah, because the professors were like, "Hey, why'd you wait till the last minute, anyways? That's your fault." So,
not to quote The Simpsons again, but I remember this fantastic episode where the teacher tells the kids, he's like, "Hey kids, whose calculator can solve this math problem first?" It's like, I get it. It's like, but the technology's there. Like, Google is there. Now, I'll be honest with you. I don't think we've ever indulged ourselves in the repercussions of what Google has done to us mentally. I think people have talked about it and talked about how we've sort of allocated ourselves to the cloud. Like the cloud was 15 years ago. Now it's nothing. But like, people, they look up answers, they get the answer, but they don't get the context of the answer, because that's not the point of Google. The point of Google isn't to give you the answer. The point of Google is to give you an ad with the answer around, like an advertisement wrapped around the answer.
Right.
Like that's the point of Google.
Yeah.
And so we've never addressed that properly. And now we're going to skip that and go to the next phase. At some point, you said you go to online classes.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you even have to go? Just have AI go for you. Have the AI do the research, have the AI write the paper, have another AI check the paper, and just occasionally check to see how you're doing in school.
So my wife and I were just talking about this, where it's like, even her job isn't so much to know everything. And what I'm studying, I'm studying IT and whatever, all that stuff. But it's like, it's not really to know the information. You quoted Ben Franklin. Ben Franklin's like, why would I remember that? It's written down. Or was that Einstein? I don't even know. Anyways, it was like, if it's written in a book, I don't have to remember it. I just have to know how to find it in the book. That's what a lot of this is turning into. You don't have to know the information, but you have to at least know enough to find and then use the information. That's where we're at right now.
That's way more important. That's exactly right. Like, you've heard of the author Haruki Murakami, right? He has this very famous quote. He said, if you only read the books that everyone is reading, then you'll only be thinking what everyone else is thinking, right? But one thing we never talk about when it comes to information retrieval, which is basically what we're talking about with AI, we're just looking at AI. For all intents and purposes, AI is just super Google. Let's just be honest here. It just is thinking at a quantum pace, and comes back with a billion times more refined things. But right now, what I'm saying is, in 1996, I remember I bought something called a Web TV, which Microsoft bought, by the way.
I remember.
I remember Web TV was a lot of fun. It came with this. It came with the yellow pages of the internet, like an actual book of web pages, right? And it reminds me of Henry Ford, right? When Henry Ford says, basically, I don't give a fig what the customer wants. He's like, if I listen to the customer, they would just want a faster horse. And I think there's going to be a reckoning and a conversation and an acceptance of what AI is going to do. And I don't think it's just going to be faster text messages and faster Google searches. I think the real purpose of what AI can do, when it's going to create a new paradigm and a new way of thinking for us, that will either be the Industrial Revolution, which means we don't have to get slaves to pick our cotton. We have machines to do it, therefore no civil wars and no more human bondage. That changed humanity. It changed it. That's what machines did, right? Or antibiotics and vaccinations change health things. It's going to be a game changer that's going to change the way we interact with each other. And I don't know what that is. I'm not smart enough. I have to ask my AI to find out for me.
It's definitely here to stay, like we were saying.
Yeah, exactly. And I welcome it too. I think it's great.
I will say that,
know what it is yet.
Yeah, neither do I. But the tools that I find very fun, I'm hoping to embrace them more. And one of them, we're going to use it in the show here. Everyone's like, "Oh, yay, Ben's finally going." No, one thing that was kind of curious to me.
You should have an AI co-host.
Never. But one thing, and share the limelight, I would never. But no, they the AI feature of Google Meet, which is what we're going to try next time we do this, and with Gemini, it has AI note taker and live. What do you call the words that come up on screen?
Transcribing?
Captions, live transcribing and captions. So hopefully next time that we do the show, we're going to have live captions for those who would like something like that. Should be pretty easy to implement. And then on top of that, we're also going to have essentially like the show notes. So instead of having to go back and look at the topics and that kind of thing, I can just say AI, summarize the conversation that we just had with Nathan, and it should give us decent show notes. So that is one way I'm looking forward to using AI. I need to start embracing it, Nathan, because I don't think it's going to go away.
Well, I mean, think about this, though. Not to be rude or anything to anybody listening, but your entire show is technology-based, created through technology, distributed by technology. Like what you're doing right now, like when Craig did the show, he still did terrestrial radio, right?
Yeah.
But back when Craig started, you or me could not just get on our computer with a 54 kilobyte modem and do what we're doing right now. Like you and I are doing something that is made possible because Skype paved the way through transition
Voice
software
over
that was
IP,
so nice and so wonderful.
Yeah.
And it's gotten better and everything else. I mean, I'm all for technology making things easier and better. I got to tell you something. again, I keep in touch with friends all over the world, through technology, and I can't imagine what it would be like before then. I'd have to write letters, and I love writing letters, but I'd miss some. But trust me, I'm a letter guy. Trust me, trust me. But what I'm saying is that embrace it. But I still don't know exactly what it's going to look like, and that's exciting, and it's scary. And you're going to see the Luddite. The Luddites are going to tell you it's going to be Terminator and it's going to be Skynet. It might be that too. But I'll tell you what, though. Human beings have been fighting each other for years. I'm not worried about computers fighting us. They might do it better.
I think
bring it on.
Yeah, I think that is a good way to kind of wrap it around. And you mentioned Terminator. Hey, that's a movie. Yeah. Speaking of which, you did a podcast.
Can I make one comment?
Yeah, sure. Go for it.
I'm pathetic because I've been using another AI model we didn't talk about. I've been using Grok on Twitter, or sorry, X, right?
I have heard of Grok.
It's very good, right? It's very good. But every time I go to one of those things, and I have the vast potential of AI image creation in my hand, all I end up doing is making Godzilla pictures. I could make anything I want, and I'm just like Godzilla fighting Superman on the beach, drinking martinis. I fail. And I see some of the weird AI pictures that people have made elsewhere, and they're doing movies like. I got to tell you something right now. We talked about this before. The future of movies and games and all the visual mediums are about to be completely upended in ways we can't even possibly imagine. This will be like the introduction of color and sound.
So I will say I saw one completely disgusting thing that I know is going to happen. You can't stop it. But it was and I completely forgot what franchise it was. Let's just say Paddington in Peru. That's just what's on your screen. So, that's what I'm referencing. Essentially, they made a beloved franchise. I forget the franchise that they actually did, but they're imagine Paddington on Mars. And they essentially made AI generated little 4-second video clips of Paddington in a spacesuit on Mars with music and put it on a trailer, put it up on YouTube, and in the title made it look like, official release, first look trailer of Paddington on Mars. And it gets clicks because it's a beloved franchise, insert Halo, insert, whatever you want on the thing. Essentially, Nathan, people are making AI generated fake teaser trailers to get clicks by utilizing the name that everyone knows and loves. And
they're hijacking IP.
It was disgusting. Yeah. It was fake. It was if you read the little YouTube description, it's this is just a fan-made project. There's no relation, whatever. That was gross. And I know you can't stop it, but ugh.
I thought you were going to tell me it was porn. I don't want to see Paddington porn.
No.
I love Paddington. I don't love Paddington that much.
No. But you're right. They're hijacking the IP. Everyone's waiting for the next Doom movie trailer, for instance, or something like that. And they're just hijacking it for clicks. It's gross.
I will say this though. I want to say it again one more time. Every company out there, all the industries out there, the Hollywood industries, the game industry, they all said they're against it, but they all did it anyway. They all went ahead and did it.
You can't ignore it. You got to embrace it.
They're hypocrites, because they know it's going to save them a lot of money, and they know it's going to mean they don't have to deal with a lot of talent and unions. They don't have to deal with all that crap, and that's why they're going to do it.
Yep, they will. So, okay, so all that being said, last thing on our list before we kind of wrap up the show, you mentioned the marathon 6-hour podcast that you
3 hours.
6 hours. You did it twice. It's 6 hours.
I know it's like deja vu all over again.
There you go. But and trust me, I've had to do the exact same thing with people that had not enough time to do it. It's embarrassing and it feels horrible. But I'm glad that they were able to stick around. It is really
hard to do. I'll say that.
I'm glad that they're able to do it a second time. So tell us about how to go, and for everyone out there who can just hear us, not see us. Movie Time, the best, the worst, and everything else movies of 2024. This is the podcast on Popzara. How to go.
So speaking of hijacking things, we kind of hijacked a little SEO stuff of the Oscars, because the Oscars come out, and for better or for worse, I think the Oscars are a waste of time. They don't mean anything anymore, but they're popular. And so people talk about what movies they saw in 2024 they liked, and frankly, it's a good entry point for a conversation. And so we have a lot of Popzara editors. We get together and we say, well, what did we like? What did we not like? And it turns out we liked a lot of the same stuff, and we disliked a lot of the same stuff. And some people liked what others disliked, and vice versa. And well, if you look at that picture, if you look at the smorgasbord up there, if you scroll up a little bit, let me see.
Yeah.
So, how many of these can you recognize by sight? These films?
Dune, Furiosa, Slip My Mind, Joker. No idea. Isn't this some like murder lady who did something?
Murder lady?
Yeah.
Murder lady.
Yeah, that was like a horror movie that got a lot of reviews.
Murder lady.
Yeah.
That movie is The Substance with Demi Moore.
Yeah, that's it. So,
by the way, you know what? That was my pick for best movie of 2024.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I was shocked as anything else. Yeah. Shocked. What about the one in the middle? You don't recognize
the robot?
That?
I do not know. The robot, I do not know.
Yeah, 2 people voted that with their best movie. That's The Wild Robot from DreamWorks.
I did not even hear about
that. Gorgeous movie. Gorgeous. Definitely watch it. Definitely. No, but like, you won't see a lot of the mainline Oscar contenders, maybe Dune and The Substance. But that's the thing about movies, though, is that they're not gate-kept anymore. Anyone can talk about them. And you can have schlock up there. You can have legitimate, like what Martin Scorsese would call cinema. You could have crap. And they can all stand toe-to-toe with each other. And the conversation is what matters, not like the definitive list. Like, oh my God, this is the 10, this is prestigious. No, our lists are not prestigious at all. Like they're in fact, they don't even follow any format. And we did round robin. But no, I want to thank Ethan, Susanna, and Brian for joining me again. And, for Ethan, especially since he was having a baby again. Girl this time, by the way. Congratulations. And but no, it's fun. It's a lot of fun. It's a really big episode filled with a lot of stuff. I think it's a lot of fun. I recommend people listen to it. You might look at it. You just learned something. You learned about The Substance. Murder lady, Ben.
Yeah, Murder Lady.
I love The Substance, though. Loved it. Like all these movies are good except for the Joker. Like somebody picked the Joker. Like we make fun of him for it, but it's fun. It's a lot of fun. It's the whole point of doing a podcast.
Yeah. No, the fun is in the conversation. So
exactly.
Very, very cool. So there you go. Nathan, I think we're going to wrap it up there. Try to keep the time down to a little bit under 3 hours, because I'm sure just you and I can do 3 hours. That'd be so easy. So we're going to go ahead and play that right there. Perfect. Okay. And Nathan, I want to thank you so much for joining us. And and I apologize on air profusely that it took this long. That is all on me.
Welcome back. That's all that matters. You're back.
Absolutely. So everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for checking it out. ComputerAmerica.com. You will see the human-generated show notes for now, right after you hear this. Everyone, thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you here next time. Do something fun. Have a good weekend. Everyone else out there, catch you next time. Computer America. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.